Are you having issues with player development? Do you find the AI too easy to play against? Are you finding that there's very little transfer activity in your save? Well, this could be down to how your game is optimized. On today's show, I'm going to talk about how you can optimize your save so that you can get better results when you're playing Football Manager. What does optimization actually mean for Football Manager? The game is essentially a simulation, right? So it simulates results. It does it in two ways. It uses a full match engine and a quick match engine. A full match engine uses more calculations and it's more realistic. A quick match engine doesn't use as many calculations. It uses a different metric and you won't see as many calculations being used. One is more accurate than the other. So when we want to optimize this simulation, we're trying to get as many leagues using the full match engine where possible. And if you go check the online manual, yeah, you can find it on SI's website. You go down to detail level, you will notice that they explain this really well. Essentially, this is another aspect of the game that you want to tweak so that you can optimize the performance a little more. Here, those leagues that you have increased the detail level for, they will start using the full match engine. And whenever any part of the game uses the full match engine, it uses more calculations, transfer activity improves, player development improves. You get what I mean. Go in and the game for the first time will probably offer you some leagues as playable. This isn't a bad start. Just make sure you check large database. If you want to do this advanced and add players, my advice is don't, not for a start. Until you get more familiar with game optimization, I would avoid this. Adding more players, like adding continents, entire continents of players, just adds bloat to the save unless you have those competitions running in full detail. If you don't have those competitions running in full detail, don't go in here and start adding players. You're just increasing the volume of players and inadvertently making the game a lot more easier for yourself. The more leagues you have playable, the more competitive your save becomes. This is decent for most people's rigs. Something like 7 leagues is a good start. You then, what you want to be doing is choosing the leagues you like. Like, okay, perhaps a average person might want to choose a few top leagues in Europe and then Argentina, Brazil, and Colombia. This is not a bad start for most people, Spain included, and Holland. And then we've got a fairly large pool. 70,000 database or close to 70 is not a bad save. Then choose the league you want to start in. Now, if I wanted to start my league, say in Denmark, for example, I would load all the leagues up to third division and below. Why? Because I need to send my players out on loan. Now, for all the other leagues, there are two ways of doing this. One, you can start the top 2 leagues, especially for the ones that are very competitive. Maybe you want better transfer activity between the giants, so you set 2 leagues for England, 2 leagues for Holland, 2 leagues for Italy. You get the drift. The another way of doing it is to do view only below. However, this is a bit tricky because then you'll have to play around with detail level again. Now, if you're not so comfortable with that and you have got a decent machine, just set this all up as playable, and this is actually a pretty decent way to start. So when you go to the detail level, you've got plenty of options. This is where you decide which leagues are going to be using the full match engine, which leagues are going to be using the quick match engine. For example, here Asia is going to be using the quick match engine. Here Europe, main stages will be using the full match engine. You've got all competitive matches, it'll just use the full match engine. So what you want to do is you want to try and influence the development of the players as well as the transfer activity. This is what you do. Okay, you come in here and you make sure that the main stages for all competitions that you're interested in tracking, or at least you want some development in these players, you want them to be set to all competitive matches. In Germany, I've got all the leagues set up to all competitive matches. If you go down the list, I've got most of them done. Netherlands as well. I don't track everything. I don't track the reserves, but I track everything as all competitive matches. This is how you optimize the detail level for your saves and you make the save a bit more interesting. Can you optimize the save at any time? Of course you can. It's especially important for all those lower league managers that want to add all the tiers below them so that they can send their players out on loan if the clubs want them. And then as they proceed higher and higher up the ladder, they want to knock off those leagues and then they want to focus on bringing in neighboring nations as well. And that's what we do. You add these nations as playable as you progress. When it makes sense that you can scout those countries as well. Now, what happens when you add a nation as playable midway through your save? Does it screw up your game? Of course not, because what will happen is at the end of your current season, you'll still be playing the same configuration, but at the start of the next season, that nation gets added, those players get added, the competitions get added. And interestingly enough, because you, depending on how long you've been running the save, if your world is balanced with a lot of nugents from a lot of countries, and you just decided to add England, then there'll be quite a few English wonder kids at the start of the season when they get loaded. So you might want to go scout them out. This optimization is for people who want a better and a more challenging save. It's a lot more fun to play it when you've got lots of leagues playable instead of just having one league playable. When you have one league playable, it's not fun because you're the only fish in the pond. The rest of the fish are just guppies, right? They're not going to fight for your players. They're not going to sign your players because you're the only big fish in the pond, right? You're just eating all the small little guppies away. So the next time you're wondering why your players aren't developing effectively or why you can't sell your players for lots of money, then take a look at the way your save is optimized on Football Manager. I hope you enjoyed today's video and you found it useful. Meanwhile, stay safe, take care. I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.